Hello and welcome to another edition of Miss Lancaster explaining a grammatical concept that's probably kind of boring, but you need to know it. Alright, so let's talk semicolons. Semicolons are the most misunderstood punctuation mark. A lot of people will go out of their way to avoid using semicolons, but they can be very useful in specific situations, and also the ACT really loves to throw you some semicolons, so let's figure out how to use them. So there's only two situations where semicolons are used. The most common one is to join independent clauses, and in this case it's usually used when the two independent clauses are closely related to each other, so stylistically it feels like the two sentences should be one sentence. Alright, so to join independent clauses, it's very simple. You just put the semicolon in between the independent clauses. You don't need a conjunction or anything else. You just put it there and you're done. The other situation, which is not on your quiz, but I just wanted to point it out, you use a semicolon when there's a complex list, when there are commas used within the list items. So, for example here, the people involved were John, the baker, Simon, the policeman, and Toby, the architect. If you replaced these semicolons with commas, then it would say John, the baker, Simon, the politician, Toby, the architect. It would sound like we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different people, but the semicolon helps to increase the clarity by showing, oh, this is one item, this is one item, and this is one item in the list. Alright, if that was confusing, don't worry about that too much. That's not on your quiz, but I just wanted to point it out since you might see it somewhere. Alright, so the rule for using semicolons to join independent clauses is that you just put the semicolon in between. Boom, you're done. Ducks are aquatic mammals, semicolon, they live on both the water and on land. Nothing wrong with that, perfectly grammatically correct. If you use a semicolon with a conjunctive adverb, the most common ones are however and therefore, but you might also see furthermore or moreover. I can't think of any other ones. Most commonly, though, it's however and therefore. If the semicolon is used with a conjunctive adverb, the semicolon comes before the conjunctive adverb, and then after the conjunctive adverb, you use a comma. So I just memorized it as semicolon, however, comma. Semicolon, therefore, comma. Every time, that's exactly how it's punctuated. So, for example, you could have, cats generally do not like water, however, some cats enjoy it and occasional swim. Use a semicolon before however, use a comma afterwards. The one thing that trips students up is sometimes they're not familiar with these terms because they're very formal academic language. We don't usually talk like this. I'm a nerd, so sometimes I use however in conversation, but you don't. You can remember what they mean by thinking however means the same thing as but, therefore means the same thing as so. Alright, so when you're trying to decide which one fits in the sentence correctly, replace it in your head with one of those words. Alright? Cats generally do not like water, therefore some cats enjoy an occasional swim. That's incorrect. Alright, let's replace therefore with so and see if it makes sense. Cats generally do not like water, so some cats enjoy an occasional swim. Nah, that would not be correct. It would make sense if you replace therefore with however, because you could say, cats generally do not like water, but some cats enjoy an occasional swim, because these two clauses are in contrast with each other, so it makes sense to put but. Alright? Alright, 2 times you never use a semicolon. 1, you never use it with a fanboys conjunction or a coordinating conjunction. Remember, the fanboys are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Don't do that. Just replace it with a comma. Alright? Secondly, you never use semicolons after a dependent clause. Okay? If you use a semicolon in a situation like this, then you are implying that this is an independent clause or a complete sentence on its own, and that's incorrect. Alright? A semicolon is not something you just throw in willy-nilly to make your sentence look fancier. You use it in 2 specific situations, which are joining independent clauses, and in complex lists where there are commas within the list items. All right, so let's practice this together. I am here, you are over there. All right, our first clause ends here. Our second clause starts here. We don't really need a conjunction. We can just put a semicolon here and call it a day. If we wanted to add in a conjunction with this, could we use and? No, because you don't use it with semicolons. If we wanted to use one of the conjunctive adverbs, would we put therefore? No, because you being over there has nothing to do with me being over here. If we replace therefore with so, I am here, so you are over there, that doesn't really follow. It doesn't make sense. So the best thing to do here is just leave it at that, semicolon by itself. I don't usually do this. I will make an exception for you. Alright, we could just put a semicolon there, call it a day. I feel like we need a transition word in here, so let's decide, should we put however or therefore? I don't usually do this, so I will make an exception for you. Nah, that doesn't make sense, so we're not going to use therefore. I don't usually do this, but I will make an exception for you. That does make sense, so we would use however. Okay, can I leave it like that? Nope. We need to add a comma after this. Remember the rule. Semicolon, however, comma, semicolon, therefore, comma. That pattern every time. Okay. I like being your friend because you are so caring and helpful. Ooh, we have to decide, is a semicolon even appropriate to use in this situation? Okay, I like being your friend, independent or dependent. Well, we have subject, I, predicate, like being. Nothing's in front of I, so we know this is independent. Good to go so far, but then we have because you are so caring and helpful. Okay, our subject is you, predicate is are, but we've got a dependent marker word in front of that, which tells us this is a dependent clause. So can we do this? Can we put a semicolon here? Nope. And we wouldn't even use a comma because this is a dependent clause at the end of the sentence. This sentence is perfectly fine the way it is. All right, last one. Our experiment worked as predicted. Our hypothesis is correct. All right, I could put a semicolon here and call it a day. That would be fine. If I wanted to add a conjunctive adverb, would it make sense to put however or therefore? Let's think about that. Let's see. Our experiment worked as predicted, so our hypothesis is correct. Alright, which one means so? However or therefore? Therefore. So we're going to put therefore. Alright, can I just leave this how it is? No. The pattern every time, semicolon, however, semicolon, however, comma, or semicolon, therefore, comma. Just remember that every time. You are now ready to take your retake. The password for the retake is going to be password. Have fun.